Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Boring on Purpose, and I'm waiting on Bartholomew over here, my 13-pound fur baby, to finish his business. Hi, RC. How are you?
Well, hello, Ellie. How are you? I'm well.
You know, he has to. Fur baby has to make an appearance.
Well, of course. Of course.
I think he wants to be YouTube famous. So I don't know, and I hope there's. I actually have this speaker on, and I really hope that it's not giving any type of. How you doing, Eve? Thanks for joining me. I'm great. I hope you're good. So, and I really hope it's not giving anybody any background noise. Now, RC, I had to have you as a guest tonight because did you see where the defense for Courtney and Brad Bartholomew has asked for a dismissal?
Yes, isn't that something? Have you ever heard of that? I have never heard of that. I mean,
Well,
they kind of
well,
have some ground. I don't, I wouldn't think they would dismiss it, but again, they didn't even receive a police report. That's the way I understood this.
Well, what really shocked me because at first I thought, well, what shenanigans is this? You know what I mean?
Right,
But
right,
I checked it out, and the defense, and in the defense of the defense,
right.
they are doing their job.
Correct.
They're
Yes,
doing
they
their
are.
job, yes, because I read ABC 4 News. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Hopefully you can hear this because I have a clip from ABC 4 News, unless StreamYard magically got rid of it.
Well, no, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you read.
Well, there's a clip where the attorney is saying, not only have we not gotten any discovery, but we, meaning the defense, had to get the the probable cause affidavit off of social media.
Now, I had heard that. Yes, I did. Which I do you believe that, Ellie? I don't know why they would say that. I mean, if it wasn't truthful, but they are entitled to have everything the prosecution has.
The it's a constitutional issue. The defense brought up due process, and the defense brought up due process because the Brady rule says that the defense has to have everything that's exculpatory, meaning anything that casts doubt on the defendant's guilt. But due process is the defendant has a right to know the state or the government's case against it. And it is
Correct.
a constitutional issue.
At this point in time, my client continues to sit incarcerated, held without bond. If the government is not prepared to move forward with this case never should have been charged back in December when it was charged.
Bulk of everything going against the defendants, correct? But if it is not truly like evidence that's been tested, let's say, how are they going to give that over to the defense? Wouldn't it be that the test has to be finished, and then when they get the results, then the defense can have it?
Well, there are certain things that the defense brought up, like by saying she's not playing either. You notice her in that clip. She's not playing with it.
Right.
She says we don't even have police reports.
Yeah, now that's odd to me. That is odd to me. Right? I
And
mean, you would.
go ahead.
But let me ask you this: why? What's stopping them from getting the police reports? There's
Well,
nothing stopping them.
I thought that, right? As the defense, right? You
Right.
can you can go and you can put in a request for the police reports. But I'm looking at the fact that the arraignment happened around a month ago in December. And
Yeah.
the prosecution asked the court, "Hi, Young Riaz, thanks for stopping in." So the prosecution asked the court at the arraignment for extra time. Now, the article I read didn't say what the prosecution asked for extra time for, but
Okay.
let's go out on a limb and say they asked for extra time to release discovery. And
Okay.
the court gave a 21-day deadline. And according to the defense, the state has missed that 21-day deadline.
Ah, oh, well, that changes it then a little bit, right?
Right.
They
And,
missed that.
in my experience, the government always takes its time. And
Yes,
okay, you know about it. The government takes its
absolutely.
time giving the defense discovery. And when the defense does get this discovery, in my experience, it's just a big data dump.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's not like things are neatly labeled.
Right, right. They're
With
put in, if it, yes, you're right. And if it's on a computer, things are mistitled, under a completely different heading that you would think. Yes.
if a heading even exists.
If
So,
one, right.
and these are serious charges. So first degree murder, felony murder, torture. Okay?
Yes.
These are serious charges. And the defense is saying that despite this 21-day deadline, we've received meaning the defense, nothing, no autopsy results, no physical evidence even has been provided.
Yeah, that is odd to me. That really is odd to me. I mean,
Because
especially with a case like this, especially so. I mean, their
yeah,
job, whether we like it or not, is to defend them. They have a constitutional right to this, right?
yeah, and if you believe that they're guilty, you really want them to have a vigorous defense because one way to get out of a conviction is to
Yeah,
say, I did not have adequate counsel during the trial.
true.
I didn't have adequate.
Absolutely.
So you
Yep.
want them
Oh,
to have a vigorous defense. And I'm,
absolutely.
what do you think about that 21-day deadline? Because these are serious charges.
Yep,
They're
they are. They are very serious. And what concerns me though, we both know how the court, like you said, seems to run very slow. And it may be very normal. I mean, we don't see it all the time, but we have seen it where they pass that 21-day window and it's not earth shaking. Now, to
you
you and I, it would be if we were the defense team, but
you
to the
know
prosecutors, and sometimes the judges tend to teeter towards the prosecution, which I think is wrong. I'm not saying this judge is doing that. I'm just saying, look, they've had 21 days, right? Get it together. Now they have a hearing on, is it January 30th?
yes. Now
Okay.
keep in mind the defense is going back to the arrest in December.
Okay, right.
So on or about maybe December 2nd, Courtney and Brad were arrested. And the defense
Correct.
is saying, right, when they arrested them for murder, they should have been ready to go.
Right.
Now,
They right.
a murder investigation can and will continue all the way up through a trial. But I'm surprised that the judge gave 21 days because, according to the prosecution's theory, there are at least two crime scenes According to the prosecution, it is alleging that it was Brad Bartholomew that, right, that Rebecca was lured. That Brad Bartholomew picked Rebecca up, drove Rebecca to he and Courtney's home, and then forced Rebecca into a second vehicle, and
Okay.
where she was then taken to the woods. And the most violent part of the crime occurred. So you got two vehicles.
Yep.
There was a search warrant served on Rebecca and her boyfriend's home. I don't know if she ever entered her birth mother, her birth mother's home. I don't know if she ever even entered Courtney's home that day, November 3rd, when she was last seen.
Right.
But
When Brad picked her up. Okay.
right,
Okay.
right. So you've got right her being picked up from her home,
Yep.
driven in one vehicle, transferred into another vehicle. Okay, so there's the
Right.
two vehicles. Okay, you're right. Then there's
Right.
her home. According to the state, they believe that she was then driven to the woods. And remember, there are reports that there's blood that was found in the vehicles. So
Right.
right, so we've got a vehicle, right, we've got two vehicles that are part of the crime. One of the vehicles definitely part of the crime scene because there was blood on the dashboard. That's the truck, I believe.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Where they, I believe they took the seats out of that one.
Right.
Okay.
Then the prosecution is saying because they're charged with moving a dead body. So the prosecution is saying that where Rebecca was attacked, tortured, killed is not where her body was found. Her body was found on federal property.
Right.
So that's multiple crime scenes. I'm surprised the judge gave 21 days. I guess maybe the judge is saying, well, whatever you have, turn it up.
That's true. That's true because and I am sure there's a lot to go through, but it doesn't matter at this point. They are entitled to whatever the prosecutor does have.
Yeah, and discovery is an ongoing process. If the
Right.
coroner,
Absolutely.
if
Absolutely.
so, if the coroner is not done with the coroner's report until let's say February, well, okay, give us what you have now, then give us the coroner's report.
Correct. At the same time. Yep. Yep.
So the judge did not. Now listen, there there are multiple options, and the defense went for every option. The first option, dismissal, and they came with, in my opinion, if your honor decides not to dismiss, which is unlikely, dismissal is unlikely.
Right.
There's strong evidence. Brad and Courtney implicated each other. They gave details,
Yeah.
and it's a horrific crime. So they gave, in my opinion, if your honor, the court chooses not to dismiss, the defense says, give my client a bond or impose sanctions on the prosecution
Mm,
for
yeah.
not meeting the deadline.
So what do you
So
think? Yeah.
you think sanctions are likely?
I think they're likely, but you know what? I don't think that would rattle. Do you? I don't think it would rattle the prosecutors, right?
Well, sanctions can come in different forms, right? They're not always monetary. They're not always monetary. Sometimes
Yeah.
a judge can say, you know what I mean? I'm going to
Yes.
give the defense right leeway on something or extra time on something, or
Right.
the court can say, I'm going to fine you by the day.
That's true too. That's true too. And That's not good, because people are watching this case,
And
right?
usually people are watching. And even and then, you know what? It's interesting because there, even though we have some footage from the news crew inside of the courtroom, I don't know that the judge is going to allow the entire process to be televised.
Yeah, I would love if he does. I don't know. Do you think he will?
Well, I mean, he did allow cameras in there. The court could have restricted it to just, pen and paper.
Right.
But there's actually footage of them in the courtroom. And I'll tell you something as a side note that I thought was interesting. I believe it was CBS News that said, we'd like to put out a disclaimer. We want to make something clear. In our photo of Courtney and Brad Bartholomew at their December arraignment, there
Uh-huh.
is a man pictured off to the side. And we want to make it clear that that man in that picture has nothing to do with this case. I think that man got in touch with the news and said, hey, you got me pictured here with Brad and Courtney Bartholomew, who committed this horrific crime.
I don't remember seeing a picture of someone. Do you?
I guess I wasn't paying attention to that. I guess he was in the background. But you know what? No matter how small it was, if I were in the background, I
Yeah.
probably would have contacted the media.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yep.
Now, the judge's other option, the defense asked for a bond.
Nah, I don't even think that's gonna happen. I can't say that because nowadays they may slap a tether on him, but I doubt it for a murder that was committed like that. And I mean, are they a flight risk?
The
Do they?
prosecution, when the prosecution argued at the arraignment for no bond, the prosecution said that, look, the state believes that Courtney and Brad are flight risk.
Okay. Yep.
Now, the defense is going on the due process rights being violated. Now, that's a constitutional issue, right? And it's an easy way to get a higher court, an appellate court
Right.
involved.
And an appeal, absolutely. And this is what you are afraid of, right? We don't want that.
Now, the defense did not appeal the no bond. They decided to wait it out. Probably knew they were not going to get discovery in 21
Right.
days. And has given it the judge as an option for a remedy, right? We've been
Right.
screwed over. They didn't follow your 21-day order. So, this is one of the remedies, Your Honor. You can give the defense is to give our clients a bond. But there is a mention in the Constitution about a bond. And I know there are other states who have sidestepped the issue by giving a bond, but they'll make the bond literally $1 million.
Oh, right. Something that they're not going to obtain.
Something that they know that the defendants, are not going to
Right.
be able. And because if the court decides to kind of fight it and stick with no bond, it's a possibility that that issue could go to a higher court. And if you want the judge to have leeway for no bond, even if it's just for a little while, because until that judge comes back on the bench, Courtney and Brad are sitting there with no bond
Right.
until
Correct.
the judge said, I'll be back on this, January 30th, and I'll make my decision. So regardless, the prosecution is getting, a couple of months with no
Right.
bond. But if it goes to a higher court and they say no bond is unconstitutional, and legal experts don't agree with that, they call it bad law, right? We just gave
Right.
the higher court an opportunity to create bad law. I think the judge can get around it. But well, first off, let me mention the judge said Brad is no stranger here. Brad is no stranger here. He's not getting a bond.
Okay. So he knows them. Yeah.
And not only that, I wonder why Okay, so the judge can get around it by setting like a $1 million bond, a $2 million bond for each.
Right.
I couldn't tell if Courtney and Brad had the same defense attorney or different defense attorney.
I, I haven't seen, all I saw was one little clip, and I would think that that would not work. Isn't that a conflict of interest?
Well,
Because,
they put the crime on each other, right?
right. So that's what I'm saying. So wouldn't you think it's a conflict that they would have to have separate? No,
I wonder if they go with the same attorneys, if the judge is going to say, since the two of you are pointing fingers at each other, right?
mhm, right,
You have to have different counts
right, which would make sense. I'm trying to
because
think. It was a right. It wasn't it a man that was representing the sister, Kimberly. It
Kimberly,
was a right. It was a
right?
man, and then I saw that woman representing uh geez, what's her name?
Courtney. It seems like she
Courtney.
really, right? It seems like I could tell she was defending Courtney, but I don't
Yes.
know if she, right, also defending Brad.
Was it a man? I would have to go back and see because I thought it was another man that was defending Bradley.
I saw men in there, and I thought, are they part of the same defense team, or are they
Right.
two different? I guess we could find out.
Yeah, and now I'm wondering, do they actually? Because now, don't forget, those attorneys are not private attorneys, right?
No, they're public
So
defenders.
public defenders. So I'm almost wondering. In some small way, I know cases. I know specifically, an attorney could not be hired on this one specific case because one of uh partners represented someone of a family member that this
Uh,
one person was looking for counsel, and they said no, we can't do that because
I
it's a
don't.
conflict of interest because they're in the same building, they're under the same, yeah. So that gets kind of, I guess it's up to the judge, right? I guess it would be up to the judge.
Listen, I would sever them because I'm going to tell you something. They get convicted, right?
Right,
And then here comes Courtney or Brad or both saying, you know what? My attorney did not present the theory that my co-defendant was the actual killer because
right,
my attorney represented us both.
correct. Yep.
Because see, the Adelson trial in Florida, you've got pretty much a mother and a son being tried for murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The son
Okay.
goes the son goes first, he's convicted. Here comes mom up for trial for the same murder, and she has the same attorney. And it's
Ah,
like, whoa, right?
yeah,
Eventually, mom gets a different attorney. Listen,
absolutely.
Darlie Routier out of Texas has been in prison for 30 years for the murder of her two children. And her attorneys, she's saying, my attorney did not present the alternate theory, right? That
Right.
my husband could have committed these crimes, even though her husband was not charged. Even though her husband wasn't her co-defendant, she's tried to use it to get a new trial.
Right, right, right. And I can see where that could be an appellate issue.
Right. So if I was
Right?
the judge, yeah, if I was the judge, right, you two are going to have different attorneys
Absolutely.
and definitely
Yep.
not out of the same office because you can pull public defenders from the private sector.
Okay, that's true. This is true. Yep. Yep. Yeah, because that is a good, to be honest, it's a good argument for an appeal.
Yeah.
And say right now, I'm wondering if, say, the defense team huddled up and said, look, this is baloney. They haven't turned over anything. The judge isn't doing anything. Let's do an appeal. So if they draft an appeal and have that reviewed, doesn't that stop the lower court? It's out of their hands at that point. There would be no court, there would be no nothing until
You
the
mean
appeals.
like an appeal during the process, like it's called an interlocutory appeal.
Right, correct. Boy,
Right.
that would be a mess, huh?
And it would stop the process. Now, get this, the first person that they would have to go through to get permission for the appeal would be the trial judge.
Oh,
I
good.
think
That's true. This is
I
true.
think I think the defense did the right thing by throwing in those magic words. This is a due process issue. This is a constitutional issue,
Yes. Yep.
and
Putting it out there.
putting it out there.
Yep.
And so I think they've got to. I think sanctions probably are not likely. Judges, without showing malice, intent, right,
Right.
to get over on the opposition.
Right.
Most judges
Just
are,
right. Just to withhold evidence, I don't believe they're doing that. I really don't.
right.
Uh
You don't think it's malicious.
yeah, I don't believe it's malicious. I almost want to say I don't want to call it malicious. I think it's petty because if nothing else, the reports should have gone to them. I don't think it's so malicious, but and to be honest, they probably couldn't do a whole lot with the reports, but that's even more so give it to them because I think sometimes strategy on the prosecutor's end is just give them 1 million documents and drop it in their lap and go, there you go. Now
That's
what?
my experience.
Right? That's what
You know,
I think they'd like to do.
you ever seen a baker's box, right? A
Yes,
baker's
yes.
box. That's usually they'll put a million sheets of paper reports in a baker's box, and they'll give you doubles. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes. Where you end up with, 17 banker boxes.
I,
Yes.
I think sanctions are unlikely. I think that it's very possible they'll get a bond. Listen, if these two had a bond that
Yeah.
they could actually make, you think they'd make a run for it,
N-
RC?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't, only because they're tethered. I would imagine they'd be, under house arrest. Uh, you know what though? I'm talking the way I'm thinking, right? Like there's no chance. So maybe they very well may, hey, cut that tether and we're gone.
Right. There are people who have figured out how to get off an ankle bracelet.
Yeah. So, I do understand the judge in the sense of they are afraid that they may leave. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know what elements do they have to meet to come to that conclusion or standard. Like, yeah, they have a passport. Yeah, they have a family in Florida. They have blah, blah, you
The
know.
prosecution literally went off of the nature of the crime. And
Okay.
they have, out of 8 charges each, at least 3 of them carry a life sentence.
Yeah. And that's true. Think about that. Right?
So, yeah, the prosecution is saying like the nature of the charges is why they take off.
Yeah. And that is true.
You
That's a
know what's
great point.
I find it interesting that they threw each other under the bus. And when the detective asked Brad, you think Courtney try to put this murder off on you? And he said, yeah, I think she tried to lay it all on me. But it looks like now They're sticking together.
Yeah, and so they're standing by. It was Brad that drove her. I wonder when she got in the vehicle. When
That's what I wondered, right? So was Courtney not even in the vehicle? You know, she
right,
slides like a rug.
right, because all along it was her,
Right.
according to
She
her.
said, I went and picked up Rebecca.
Right.
And so, yeah, we were going to spend time together. Now,
Yes,
listen, go ahead.
and that they sat in the driveway together and discussed the baby shower, and which I thought that was really weird. Like, go into the house.
It's cold outside.
Right. And I just found that very odd. But either way, she always said it was she, she herself
And
picked her up.
I'll tell you something else. Brad really should have had a ninth charge because he was not ever supposed to be in the house with Courtney's minor child.
That's true. That is true. I wonder why. Why do you think they didn't give him that charge? Or can they still?
They can steal, but I guess they said considering the fact that we did three charges to carry a life sentence, another charge that carries a 15-year sentence.
Right. Okay. Yeah, like don't muddy the water. Keep it
Right,
on Rebecca.
right. And it's definitely a reason that a judge can go with no bond for Brad at all.
Absolutely. Well, and that is concerning. So, do you believe that that boy that's there is Bradley's? I think it is. I think he is. I just never had any confirmation on that.
I don't know because Bradley referred to him in a statement, if the police, wrote it the way he said it, as
Uh-huh.
Courtney's son.
Oh, Courtney's son.
And get,
Ah.
yeah, and get this. Courtney throws in right why she needs a bond because she is the only one who can take care of her minor son, and she needs to be here.
That is comical. That is comical.
Courtney, honey, I'm gonna tell you, I don't
You're
trust you
right.
around.
Man. That boy, and I feel my heart goes out to him. I know he's young. What a horrible situation to be in, but I'm sure he's doing much better. At least I know he's safe wherever he is. He's not with those two.
He's safer than he would be with those two. It's my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely
But being a minor, right? But would you
right.
continue to send this child to school in Boone Township?
I know exactly. My thoughts exactly. In such a little area, I bet you he's not even going to school. I'm wondering if he's at this point maybe being homeschooled or doing it maybe online. I mean, giving the severity of this.
Yes,
Uh,
and I feel like he's also a victim, and so I hope
yes,
there's something in victim services that
absolutely.
some type of therapy, so that
Yeah,
he can.
this is
And I
yes.
mean, Courtney, you had a sex offender living in the house with your minor child, baby.
And how does that? It just blows my mind how you justify that. There's no way to justify that, right?
There's no way to justify it. And I'm going to tell you, the prosecutor in this case, Johanna Carey at the arraignment, she said, listen to this. These two created a plan. They
Right.
conducted research. And she goes on to say that Brad picked up Rebecca, brought her back to Courtney and Brad's home, forced her into another vehicle, and then took her to the woods where ultimately they tortured and murdered Courtney's own biological daughter, causing the death of her unborn baby, baby Park. That's a lot to unpack.
That's a lot to unpack, and I like how you stated that or read that portion, causing the death of the unborn. That to me, right there, says to me, since you cut the baby out, you killed the baby.
The state believes that that baby was alive and well
Yep.
in Rebecca's womb.
So do I. So do I, Ellie. I don't know about anybody else out there, but only because she had gone the night before. And
Yep.
there seemed to be no issue. It was premature, so you know that they were monitoring the baby. She was
Right? You know, you dilate
right.
1 centimeter.
Yes, yes. So
So,
she's
yeah,
right. She's on her way.
close. The baby is moving into position to,
Right. Yep.
explode.
So then I've always believed that baby would have been fine. And like when Courtney mentioned to, I believe it was her sister, that she was texting at some point. She had said that, the whole lie about having a baby and it was in NICU and that baby took its last breath in front of her or like she was
Yeah,
holding the baby. That makes me believe that baby did take a breath. And that's why
that
you have Brad saying it never took a breath. No, I believe it took a breath.
she was calling the fake baby Ashton and
Ashton,
said
correct.
that Ashton died right in front of her, and she doesn't know what happened except that he could not get air. So how do you know, right, that a baby can't
Right.
get air, but the baby is trying to get air?
Right. And at a hospital, if you really think about what she said, they would get that baby air.
Yeah,
I mean, you're at a hospital. Not saying that it still couldn't have passed away if it was a true story, but it's not like it seemed like the baby couldn't get air or, and that for one, the hospital isn't going to let you sit there and hold a dying baby. Nope.
right. Well, the quickest place for a baby to get, expert medical response is in NICU.
Right. Right.
Now, listen, everything they're charged with, right? Like murder and torture. Murder in the first and torture. They're also charged with conspiracy to torture, conspiracy to commit murder. So, Brad saying, right, that he didn't know what Courtney was going to do, basically, until Courtney was doing it, the state is not buying it. It sounds to me like what the state is saying is, no, 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 they were in on this together from jump.
Right. Right. Just the word conspiracy even tells me there was talk, research, there was something going on because they actually researched or discussed on how to even torture her.
Prosecutor Carey said these two conducted research.
Yeah, isn't that just horrifying?
What do you think?
Horrifying.
What do you think those Google searches are going to say, RJ?
Oh, Uncle Google, I bet you was very busy with those two. And they're gonna, yep, he's holding on to all that information, waiting.
I bet you there's Google searches on, right, basically, how do you cut a baby out
Yeah,
of a womb?
right. How to do a C-section. Or extract. Yeah, how to and extract because you knew and it's ironic too, because it was the day after she was already dilated to one. So they knew this baby is coming.
Yeah.
That tells
And
me, right? That tells you they had to get a hold of her.
and
It,
allegedly Courtney told her, you better not give birth to this baby in no hospital.
I heard that too. I don't know if I believe someone said she texted her that. Don't you give birth to that baby at the hospital without me or something to that effect.
Yeah, don't get it right. Now, we've said what the judge has options to do, and it's prescribed by law, what the judge has options to do, and the defense hit all of them: sanctions, dismissal, right,
Right.
bond. What do you think the judge should do? Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, considering you brought up a really good point, the defense is going back to the day of the arrest. Okay.
Right.
So the probable cause was there, right? But nothing has happened since. Uh, I believe, to be honest, and it's not because I am not the one to always go with the prosecution. I always tend to lean towards, if I'm going to lean anyway, it's usually to the defense, to be
We
honest.
we are not prosecutors princesses over here.
Absolutely. But in this case, I would hope, he gives them basically a big reprimand. I'm with you. I don't think sanctions are really gonna, do anything. But if they have good reason, and maybe even as we speak, maybe they are giving them, some of the reports, say.
Yes.
And
And
I'm sure, yeah,
yes.
in the interim.
Now, and the prosecution can also, right, submit a motion to the court, a good cause motion. There's a good
Right.
that we have not handed over anything. I can't say this and that. According to the defense,
Correct.
we have nothing.
Correct. And I bet that very well could happen too. They may, in the interim, like right now, they may be making that motion. This is why. We were waiting on this or that. We don't want it leaked, right? We don't want anything leaked. We are supplying them with the police report, the incident reports, whatever, right?
Now, listen,
Yep,
now you're right. Okay, police reports are generally not admissible at trial. But if you're working defense and you're working police reports, and you've got a case like this where you feel like they've got a really good case against my client, okay?
uh-huh.
You might be able to find like a violation, a constitutional violation of procedure, right? Was the search warrant drawn up the right way?
Right.
Right? Did
True.
they
Right.
understand? Did they understand their rights, right, before they started confessing
True.
and giving details?
That's true because that's going to be one of them. I bet you any money it'll be one of them.
And I'm telling you, even if the judge dismissed the charges, it's really not like the state couldn't just go right in the next day and submit those same charges.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the dismissal is happening anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I do believe it will move forward. Like I said, I do believe that maybe the prosecutor will draft a motion and explain why. And like I said, in the meantime, maybe hand them over some of the smaller, like an incident report, the whatever reports they have. And
Listen,
if
I think minimally, right, they should have the initial call to the police reporting Rebecca missing.
right, the 911, I would imagine it was a 911. I don't know.
Kimberly called, right? So I don't
Yes,
know if she called the station or 911, but there's a call, there's a report generated from that call. Then there's a detective who went to talk to Kimberly. They went to talk
true.
to Brad. They went to talk to Courtney. Everything that happened up and through the interrogation, I don't see why the defense don't have that.
That's right. And that's my thing. I don't know why they don't have it either, unless they're just trying to, like I said, play the strong arm, like, yeah, you'll get it when we want to give it to you. And I think they just want to drop a ton of info on
At
them.
one time,
Yeah,
you
at
think they
one
want
time.
everything and then just get them at once?
Absolutely. Which I
That
think is so very petty. And it's like, do it the right way. That's all I'm saying.
It,
Don't do that.
it is strategic. It is hoping that the defensive team will miss something.
Right. Oh yeah, and trust me, you've seen it overload you with so much information that it is an overload. Right?
Right, it is an overload, but criminal defense teams, they're accustomed to it, they're waiting on it, and that's an 80
Yes.
hour week job. That is an 80-hour week job.
Yes.
They are a good defense team is going to go through everything
Absolutely.
line
And
by
they'll absolutely they take it home with them and continue. Right after dinner, they're looking through documents and absolutely.
in one case, I remember going through 20,000 hours of wiretap conversation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Now I'm the
That's
lowest on the totem
huge.
pole. I'm the lowest on the totem pole, so that's why it was handed to me. But there, right, so there are not only reports, there are recordings, there might be
Right.
body cam footage, there are photographs. What's the problem with the photographs of the crime scenes? The photographs
That's
of the inside of the car.
absolutely because look, at the end of the day, it just photographs. Hand them over. Right?
Right,
Hand them over. Yep. And I'm
the
sure you
blood, huh?
you yes, in a case like hers, Rebecca's, they must have, 400 photographs because you're talking about, two vehicles. You're talking about where she was found. We don't know. Did they find another place where she may have been stored?
You know that we wondered about that, right? The
Right.
prosecution is saying no, take it into the woods, I guess behind the home. That's where the crime happened, and then her body taken to what is it called, Manistee Park,
Yes. Yep. Manistee Force. Yep.
Manistee Forest.
Yep.
So
Which is probably their backyard. And so basically, what it sounds like they may have killed her in one spot back behind their house and then they moved her outward.
the
Right?
multiple the multiple conversations that law enforcement have with Kimberly, the defense should have that.
Yes.
The
Absolutely. And
multiple
you're right.
conversations, yeah, with Brad. The conversation, right, when
Right.
Kimberly was throwing other people into the mix, Courtney was throwing other people into the mix. From what I read in the probable cause affidavit, the police they chased those subjects down, talked to them, cleared them.
Right.
The
Right.
defense deserves all of it because the defense, right, could be an alternate theory of the crime. One of the lies that Courtney told.
Yeah, that's true. And until they see what they have, right, what the prosecutor actually has, they don't know
Yeah,
which real way to go with this. I would imagine at this point.
it could be the defense. Well, the state is incompetent because we believe we can present evidence to you that Kimberly was involved
Yeah,
and Kimberly.
right. Yes.
Now, I'm not
Yes.
saying Kimberly's involved. I'm just saying that could be a strategy of the right. They can't put it. They can't get a strategy together.
Right. Correct. Correct. They can't get a strategy until they know what the prosecutor has. And you're absolutely right because I've often and I'm not blaming Kimberly, but I'm also not getting Kimberly totally out of my head either. We
I
don't
don't.
know. Yeah, we don't know how deep she knew about this, possibly involvement, even if it was dropping of the phone. I find that such an odd place to drop her phone.
Right after the fact, it's
Right,
possible,
right.
or could it be right, or because she is charged with lying to investigators, but but could it be that Kimberly actually thought that the wild stories that she was telling, that it's possible it was this person, it was that person, and Kimberly said that she was having an affair, with
Right.
Rebecca
With,
Davis.
yep. Yes.
Police actually arrested
Isn't that
Rich
terrible?
off
I
of
mean,
Rick.
arrest him for a different reason, but they did arrest him because of what she said. And then there was another man they went after, and thank God he had proof, or he had his phone or something to prove he wasn't even in the area.
But Rich Fowler was originally arrested for Rebecca's murder off
Yes.
of Kimmy said. Kimmy says that he confessed to her.
Yes. Isn't that horrible though? This is what I'm saying. So it is such a wild story. It sounds like something we'd watch on Netflix, or, it's almost like it couldn't be true. And those are the true ones. Um,
Like the stuff you can't make up. Because I have to
right,
ask,
right.
do you think Kimmy was sleeping with Rich Fowler too?
I do. I think Kim was. I really do. And I think well, that's what she says. So I
Right.
don't just believe her, but I believe Courtney even said that, but I don't believe her. I don't know what would possess her to say that. I would never admit to that. Right?
She admitted to something, right? Kimmy admitted to something that didn't make her look very good by saying that.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's very, I don't know if it really makes a difference. I always have believed that Kimmy was jealous of her sister.
Well,
But there might be, it also might be a normal type of jealousy, not like a bad, just something that, not that she looked up to her as much. I think she actually was a little bit jealous of her.
but
Maybe,
you maybe not to the point of homicidal envy.
right. Oh, correct. Correct. Almost like
Because, huh?
yeah, almost like I want to be as pretty as she is. I want to be liked like she is, or whatever.
But
Because
yeah,
yeah,
all kind of sisterly things
right.
that might go
Ex-
on.
exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, I don't.
a lot of people believe Courtney and Brad was going to try and put this on Kimberly.
Didn't it sure sound like it in the beginning? I know with Courtney. I don't know about Oh yeah, even Bradley. Because that's right. He's the one that said she asked me about a week before this all happened about the trails behind the house.
Yeah, he
Now
was going
listen.
out
Yeah.
he was throwing out statements to him. He said, "All I know about Kimberly is she's jealous of Courtney." So
Yes.
who knows if there's enough there for the defense to say, right, Courtney and Brad didn't do this, Kimberly did this.
You know what? Again, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at that wall. It's until they see what they have to work with, then they'll figure out their strategy.
Yeah,
As
because
long
the
as they
defense
can show reasonable doubt, right?
reasonable doubt. The defense only has to convince one person.
Right.
The
Right.
government has to convince all of them.
Yes. I mean, I don't think Kimberly had any, or wasn't there anyway, during the time she was actually being murdered. I don't believe that. But
No,
she may have,
I
yeah.
think that's a Courtney and Brad crime.
Yep, so do I. I think it was Courtney and Brad. Now, did she
Huh?
find out right away? It kind of sounds like she may have found out something.
Yeah, and she could have been throwing the police off because could be Courtney bribed her, made her think that she had a few $1,000 to give her. Could
Right,
be she thought
right,
Bert's mom. It could be she thought that Bert's mom wasn't responsible for it. I don't
right.
know. I can't really say it. I can only speculate. But listen to this. Excuse me. The defense says that the state threatened to redact some of the things in their reports. That would be malicious.
Absolutely. What? I didn't hear that. Oh, what are they going
I,
to redact? They better not be redacting anything that's going to the defense.
and the defense used the word threaten. They threatened to redact.
Ooh.
I'm thinking this is so important for y'all to mess it up.
Absolutely. Boy, I just see appeals coming. And
And they
really, how stupid of the prosecutor or whomever, anybody in their department, to threaten anything like that.
I know. And listen, what do you think about, we put the probable cause affidavit up here. We went all through it ourselves.
Right.
Now, what do you think about the probable cause affidavit going public before the defense gets it?
I was surprised to hear that it was leaked. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. It happens a lot, but um that is odd.
And it was a very detailed probable cause affidavit.
Yes, yes, it was. And I also heard, yeah, the defense attorney saw it when she opened up her Facebook page or something.
See,
That's
she
how
had to get
she saw it.
now get this, right? I guess what I'm asking about is the public's right to know and when the public has the right to know it, because this is the state of Michigan versus Courtney Bartholomew versus Brad Bartholomew. So this is a crime, not only against Rebecca, and we say also against Baby Park,
Right.
but against the people of the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan no longer has Rebecca. The state of Michigan no longer has Baby Park. The state of Michigan, might have been in fear for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have these televised trials. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder,
I
are we getting,
Right. I think personally, having the trial itself publicized is fine because we're at trial now.
yeah,
But the right for me to know as a citizen, I feel I don't have the right. I am no one in that case. I feel like I have a right to know, yes, a trial. I think it's always good if they allow cameras so people can watch this, right? To keep
yeah,
it very clear what was going on, right?
yeah.
They're not hiding anything. But as far as like a right to know, no, they need to do their job. And if it's kind of keeping the public at bay without, I think sometimes it's done on purpose to sway the public opinion, right?
Because the jury is going to come,
From
theoretically,
where? Yes,
from township, the public.
absolutely. Or even if it's, anywhere local, if they had to pull some people from elsewhere, this is a big story. So I do believe some of the leaks are done on purpose, to make if it's the prosecution, look at how devilish and evil these two are without giving the defense team even the common courtesy to know what they're up against, right? Because we're just using Kimberly. We're just using her right now as an example because she was involved enough that who
Right.
knows? It could have been Kimberly. I don't believe so, but I'm just saying. So, I don't think that it's anybody's right until the trial, right? If I have something to say that I personally know, I could call the Wexford County, I could whatever. Other than that, sometimes no, they have to keep things quiet, and confidential. And if you notice, it seems like it's coming from the prosecution, someone in the
Yeah.
prosecutor, right?
That's who was in control of the probable cause.
Ex- right, because the defense is complaining they don't have it. They don't have anything.
I mean,
So
arguably, most defense attorneys believe that, listen, you're trying to poison the jury pool.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. That's what I think. And you know, that could smack them back in the face though later on. You don't need to poison the jury pool. If you have enough evidence against these two, stick with what you know and what you have, the proof, right?
Yeah, I forget the judge's name in North Carolina, but he tried a lot of famous cases. He's passed on now. And
Okay.
he said the way in which a person is tried and convicted is the way in which a person is tried is more important than the conviction.
Ah,
The process, right, is legalized and structured that way so that innocent people don't get screwed. And people say, well, Brad and Courtney are not innocent, screw them. Well, any murder trial is bigger than those two defendants.
right. That's true.
Brad and Courtney. Tomorrow is somebody that you love who you think didn't commit the trial, because innocent people do get convicted.
Absolutely. I agree. Yep. I totally agree with that.
So I
It'll
don't
be
know.
it'll be exciting to wait to see what he says on the 30th. And I'm anxious to know what is happening now in between,
Is
right?
that Scott working late hours trying to get stuff together, send those bankers boxes over to the judge?
Exact. That's what I'm wondering. That copier is really going, or they're downloading it from the computer, whatever it is. But yeah, I am anxious to find out what he says and what transpires because again, they should have interviews of in their hands of people that were interviewed, like that one guy Kimberly said that was involved. Where is his interview? Where, like
Now,
you brought up, where's Kimberly's? I'm sure they
yeah,
videotaped it.
exactly. Now, I'll tell you this: they should have Rebecca's cell phone records,
Oh
all that.
yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'll bring this up last thing, because we've been on here talking for an hour.
We have? Oh, we
Yeah,
have. See, I
I'll bring
enjoy talking to you.
this. And listen, this is an important case, and the state is playing around, in my opinion. But
Absolutely it is. Yeah, and I believe that. I think they're just basically like you said, shenanigans. There's no
now,
reason why they don't have the majority of this stuff.
this justice for Rebecca written in the snow.
Yeah.
That was written in the snow across from Courtney and Brad Bartholomew's trailer.
Okay.
So I think that one of the reasons that a judge could deny bond right to Courtney is for her own sake.
Correct. To be and honestly, would you, you're talking about people that will handle their own if need be. And if they saw her, walking around or whatever, I would be afraid if I were her. Absolutely, she's safer in jail.
Because, justice for Rebecca, that's not a threat, right? But it goes to show there are people who are passionate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to say they're backwoods people by any means, but there is, a lot of them are old school. They'll handle their own. So, and she knows it. So, as much as maybe she wants to get out of there, I don't know, but she would not be safe, nor Brad, nor
Judge,
Brad.
Judge said Brad's not getting out. He's familiar with the court,
Yep.
sex offender.
And that's kind of crazy all by itself. And I know there's not enough jails to put these people in and keep them in, but
Listen,
they need to come up with a better system. I
I
don't
think
care.
he lives with a monitor on him.
Absolutely. And if they have to pay for it, looks like Cupcake, you're getting a job. I don't care if
And
it's just to pay for this, but you are going to go to work. We'll allow you to do that, but we want to know where you're at.
suck it
And
up, buttercup.
absolutely, right? I don't want to hear no excuses. And I think, you know what, boy, the state of Michigan, forget all the money that's put on the oil tax for gallons of gas here. Let's I'm telling you, we would be a rich Michigan if there was something like that. All these sex offenders, they have a monitor, and you make sure, and no one, you don't know if I'm watching you or Larry or whomever, right? You
Right.
don't know who the companies are watching, but yes, I absolutely agree. If there's like a school or, I don't know how they would do it, but I'm sure there's a way they could figure it out. Like where
Listen,
the kids live.
I would not mind if my taxpayer dollars went to employing people, right,
Yep,
to join in law enforcement to do nothing but keep up with sex offenders. Are you driving by
absolutely.
a school?
Yep.
Are you taking your lunch near the park where kids play? Because that's
Yep,
concern.
absolutely is. And it's concerning. uh Bradley was with Courtney, and I think his name is Bentley, the boy, I believe. I believe.
And
Yeah, what happens if he wanted to have friends over? Now, I don't know if his mom or mom and dad or whomever the friend may be, do they know about Bradley
or
and,
they
and
just
Courtney? Right.
yeah,
Or are they just more parents that don't care where their kids go? Just be
there
home
are
at bedtime.
there are some who don't, but the children deserve to be protected, even if it's just by the county or the state.
Absolutely. And especially those ones because the parents don't care. So yeah,
And
there needs to be something set up differently in my eyes.
yeah, in my eyes. So I guess we'll wrap it up. I think that I don't think there'll be sanctions unless the defense can actually prove malice, like threatening to redact things from reports or, purposely delaying the discovery. I
Right.
think that the judge will minimally give Courtney, possibly. I think it's likely the judge will minimally give Courtney and or Brad a seven-figure bond.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I do too. Just for the record. That's what, I would
And we'll
imagine so.
we'll keep up with it.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me on. And I'm
All right.
glad that we're sticking to this. If I see any updates, I'll let you know. And I hope people will jump in on your YouTube and let you know if there's any updates that they've heard or that we haven't heard about.
Leave it in the comments. And listen,
Right.
I appreciate everybody who stopped by. I really appreciate the replay team, and special shout out to those who hit the like button, share, leave us a comment, give us updates. Tell us what you think. Should the judge impose sanctions, or is everybody just like F. Courtney and Brad? Prove their
Right.
good.
Right. Leave you the comment. I'm anxious to see. Absolutely. Thank you, Ellie.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.